Hello, welcome back. Thank you for joining me. Let's talk today about simplicity, the sheer simplicity of truth. If you've watched some of these videos in the past, this is a subject that you'll have heard a lot. Well, time to hear it again. Now, and if it's your first time, welcome. Truth is simple. It's simple. All complications, all of our lack of understanding, all of it is of the ego. It's the ego's attempt to obscure the obvious. Obvious. It's the ego's attempt to keep the veil over our eyes so that we don't see things as they are. So it offers us all kinds of stuff. It offers us all of the trinkets of the world. Some of them bring us lots of pleasure, which doesn't last. Oh, I know, right? Some of them bring us a lot of pain, and the ego holds this out to us, saying, here, take this. Here, have this shiny object. Have this hot, sexy object. Do this, do that, do that. Do everything but sit quietly and let truth be just as it is. Don't do that. That's scary. So we complicate our lives. As always, with all spiritual practice, if we didn't complicate things, we wouldn't be here. This conversation would not be happening. It would not even be necessary at all. So let's render it completely unnecessary, shall we? Starting right now. When else? Let's render this channel completely unnecessary. Now, in the meantime, if you haven't subscribed yet, there's the subscription prompt. I mean, I'm just saying. Let's take the larger view here. That's what all of spiritual practice aims to have us do, is take an all-important step back from our daily parade of activity, multiple activities all at once, in a dizzying, overwhelming assortment of stuff, chaos, all of it completely unnecessary, all of it completely made up, including this, all of it completely illusory, including the world itself. So we make the complications. Truth is simple, very simple. Spiritual practice is about letting go of all of those complications. It's lifting the veil, so to speak. It's setting the ego aside. It's setting all of our illusions aside. Truth is simple. God is. Were you expecting something more? There is nothing else. God is. Period. If you've not heard that before, what is implicit here is only God is. Truth is beyond all concepts, including language. So, in fact, words cannot express it. It can only be known, i.e., experienced. So, along the way, and A Course in Miracles has an entire chapter, chapter 15 to be exact, devoted to what's known as the holy instant, where the veil is lifted. It's temporary, for sure, but In the holy instant that this course talks about, and that we're talking about today, chapter 15, section 4, to be exact, paragraphs 6 through 9, if you're following along. This holy instant is a moment where the veil is lifted and we're in perfect communication with God, and we're not alone because all of our brothers, every living thing, is also in perfect communication with us because there is no separation of any time, of any kind, any type, any kind, none. God is, remember? Only God is, and we're in communication in the holy instant. The veil is lifted. It's a glimpse of what is. Our mind in this instant is open. In other words, it's willing to accept truth just as it is. It is precisely this that we claim is so hard in the world. We won't do it. Again, if we would do it, this channel would not exist. The internet wouldn't exist either. There would be no bodies running around a spinning ball of rock. None of this would even be necessary. But while it is, let's all pay particular attention to this. The holy instant when the veil is lifted is a glimpse. It's an experience of truth, of perfect communication. Now, this can and will eventually extend beyond space and time. We're at home in God, perfectly awake, by the way. We simply don't realize it. We have drawn a veil over our sight. That is a useful analogy. You may find that useful. I've certainly benefited from that analogy in my own practice. We're lifting it. We're setting the ego aside. And each moment of every day, we have an opportunity to set these obstacles aside. We've erected a barrier between ourselves and truth. You could see it as a wall or a fog bank or something like that. Spiritual practice of any form, any tradition is about removing that barrier. Now, here in A Course in Miracles, it's important that we do it under the guidance of our inner teacher, which is loving. So we don't take a sledgehammer or dynamite to this wall. We don't rip the veil in a fit of rage. It's not an obstacle at all. In fact, we think it's an obstacle. We've placed it there. So it appears solid, but it's not solid. And as we forgive, as we practice this course under the guidance of our inner teacher, we come to know this. We come to realize that what we once thought was so formidable and solid is in fact nothing at all, and can simply be walked right through like a passing cloud. A fog bank may look bleak and black and obscure one's sight, but when you start going through it, even if you feel cold and wet, you come to realize it's nothing. It's a passing cloud. So we don't experience this instant that the Course calls the holy instant, this experience where the veil is lifted. We don't experience this constantly because we want to have private thoughts. We want to keep certain thoughts to ourselves. We want to harbor grudges against some people and not others. We want to judge some people and not others. We want to condemn and blame some people and not others. Small wonder that this course states in absolutely no uncertain terms that forgiveness is either total or it's not at all. We want to keep private thoughts, our little forms of special love or special hatred, where we single some people out for our specific rage and venom, and some people for our specific praise at the expense of others, because of course they're separate. No, there is no separation of any kind. Our forgiveness is either total or it's not at all. And we find this really, really difficult to accept, yet accept it we ultimately must if we want the peace of God, which deep down you do. We all do. It's what we all want, or we would not be interested in spirituality at all. This would hold no appeal. And you might be thinking, well, it doesn't hold any appeal to me at all right now anyway. Well, is that really true? You're here. There's a reason why you're tuning in today. There's a message from your inner teacher today, right now. Perhaps you've heard it. And if you have not yet, keep watching because there's more to say. We want to keep our private thoughts, and yet we wonder why we're not awake, why we don't experience this holy instant constantly, why we're not enlightened, in other words. We wonder why we're not in total communication with everyone around us. Well, it's because we would harbor grudges against some of them. We want to keep that to ourselves. That's why we still make divisions and separations in our mind. We want to keep certain things walled off, split, and separate, and we wonder why we don't have the peace of God constantly experienced 100% of the time with zero doubt at all. It's because we would keep these private thoughts. It's because we would keep these little judgments. So, what do we do here? Well, we bring them to the light. What we often fear to do, don't we? Well, bring them to the light. The Holy Spirit will shine them away. He'll shine away the guilt and fear. You may find it useful to liken this to walking into a dark room, fumbling about for the light switch and finding it. It's right here. It's right here. And when you turn it on, what happens to the darkness? It's gone. It's as though it were never there. It was not. So we bring all of our illusions to truth in the language of the Course. We bring all our darkness to light. Light shines it away. But we have to be willing to bring it. So we're not awake because we'd still prefer to keep some of these little private thoughts. Well, give them to the Holy Spirit. Give them over to Him. He'll shine them away. All that's needed is your willingness to give them over. In the holy instant, we give and receive perfectly. We're in perfect communication. Here in the world, we're not in perfect communication. Why? Because we'd keep some of our little judgments and drama to ourselves. Give them to the Holy Spirit instead. Give them over. So you might rightly ask, why hasn't this awakening taken place for me yet? Well, because first of all, you'd have private thoughts that you want to keep to yourself. Also, this is very, very important. The Holy Spirit does not force. The Holy Spirit does not force us or make us give over all of our private thoughts to Him. The Holy Spirit is rather patient, loving, kind, and waits for us to do that piece of the work ourselves. In other words, He waits for us to change our mind. So we bring everything that blocks communication with God, with our brother, with the all, capital A, of which we're all a part, are we not? Yes, there is no separation of any kind. You know who, what, and where you are. Yeah, I invite you to go there in your mind. Do that. If you've been hesitant or afraid to go there before, go there now, will you? Even if you return to the frantic chaos of life, the Holy Spirit needs only a fraction of a second to rush in. Let Him. So, awakening does not require perfection on our part here in the world. We think we have to do everything just so, and so strong is our conditioning that we suck. So strong is our belief in our own frailty and weakness. We even call ourselves sinners, yet there's no sin. God has no ego to be offended. If there's no separation of any kind, how can one transgress another in truth? There is no separate other. Again, the simplicity of truth that we totally obscure. Your brother is you, literally. This is simply an appearance. It's a pixelated image on your screen, as I'm fond of saying, and it is. You're looking at a device. How this all works with the ability to reach each other over this thing called the internet, I have no idea, but I'm very grateful that it does exist because we can reach each other on the other side of the world in different time zones. Yeah, the Holy Spirit has many channels. This is one of them. I mean, literally, we call a YouTube entity a channel after all, don't we? Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So you don't have to have 100% pure thoughts. You don't have to be pristine and pious and squeaky clean. We are, however, asked to give over all of our private thoughts to the Holy Spirit. We're not asked to be completely pure in thought, but we are asked not to keep any thoughts to ourselves, not to wall anything off, stow it away, or bury it like a dog buries a bone for later. Now bring it all to the Holy Spirit right now. We're asked to have no thoughts that we would keep. So we give them over to Him. This is a simple statement of mind that you can make right now. It takes just a second or two, and no one has to know you're doing it either. You don't have to announce it. Just do it. It's really that simple. If we have no thoughts we would keep, there's nothing for us to hide, and we're in perfect communication. When we attempt to hide things away, we hide them from ourselves. We do. We absolutely hide them from ourselves. That's who else? There is nobody else out there. There's no separation of any kind. These statements are true. You might think, well, who am I to trust you? Yeah, well, this is the pixelated image on your screen. It is assembled in the form of a middle-aged man from the Metro Phoenix area in Arizona, in North America. which may be really close to where you are in geography and maybe far, far away. When something lands for you, it's the Holy Spirit. You don't have to take this talking head's word for anything. You don't. You don't at all. However, should you find yourself questioning the truth and veracity of pixelated image over here, and should you find yourself questioning the truth and veracity of this course or all spirituality, keep questioning. Keep that mind, questioning mind going, will you? And don't stop at all. Don't stop until you find yourself questioning the very foundations of everything you now believe, and question that. Don't stop until you have. Should you find yourself skeptical, no problem. Question everything, literally everything. Who, what, and where you think you are. You know who, what, and where you really are. You know this perfectly well. Will you accept it? Will you allow it to be just as it is? And if you insist that you want proof, which people do in the world, we say things, abrupt things, and sometimes we're even rude or angry when we say it, prove it. Well, we're invited to prove it to ourselves, so prove it to yourself. How do you do this? Take these ideas, put them into practice. Put them into practical application in your daily life. That is what spirituality in any form, any tradition is all about. Practical application. That's where we learn. We put these ideas into practice. We forgive. We do the course, and our experience demonstrates to us. It shows us, and yes, if you prefer, it proves to us that these ideas are true. Prove it to yourself. I invite you to do that. Understand simply that all resistance is of the ego. Truth is simple. All of spirituality is our opening to that. So may you open to it today. Okay, so whether you're a long-time course student or a newer course student or anything in between, or if you're not a course student at all and you've just popped in to check this out, you've wondered what this Course in Miracles thing is about, well, clarifying your perception so that truth may dawn of itself. That's it. We don't see things as they are. This course, should you choose to do it, will enable you to see them as they are. From there, truth dawns of itself. That's awakening, enlightenment, final realization, call it what you will. We have to have no private thoughts, not keep any of our little BS and drama to ourselves. So along the way, questions are bound to arise because this turns our perception right side up. It's clearly upside down, or we wouldn't be interested in spirituality. You might think, oh, it's right side up. This is a body. It's a middle-aged dude from Arizona. No, it's not. It's not created by AI either, in case you're wondering. But it's not a middle-aged man from Arizona. And if you happen to be, middle-aged or advanced age or young or whatever, that's not who you are either. We're not a body. Questions are bound to arise because this is a different thought system. That is, by design, it's what we need in order to see things as they really are. So to the extent that you have questions, please feel welcome to leave them here. I'll be happy to answer those as best I can. And again, if you have not subscribed, this is the prompt in the corner of your screen. I invite you to click that, join us, and I will see you all again on the next video. Thanks as always for joining.